Hello and welcome to the Happiness Is podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness X-Shape. We're back. We've got 100 or so episodes in the can and we are going again. Today is one of those days where it feels like just get your comfy slippers and a cup of coffee and enjoy the chat, which wasn't really where this guy's reputation came from, I wouldn't have thought. But I feel like I know him so well, and I think we've only actually met once, possibly twice before. As part of the Samurai family, he has been all over the place. He's now on the circuit with GB7s. He's got a fantastic reputation. There are a lot of stories that he probably can't share with us, but we'll see how many we can eke out of him on this. He is the one and the only Mr. Nick Wakley. Hello, sir.
Hiya, bud. Hell of an introduction. Cheers, pal. I owe you for that.
Well, you're a hell of a man. Let's go with the samurai bit because you've got it on. You must just have a wardrobe full of this stuff.
Oh, do you know what? You'd be surprised. My brother seems to time his visits over to my house impeccably, and the minute I come back from a tournament, I just hear his boot close and off he goes. It's yeah. There's been a lot taken, to be fair, but yeah, it's some good stash, to be fair.
And you've been around. I mean, you're always there or thereabouts with samurai. There's a few very recognisable faces, and you're one of them. It's given you a huge amount.
Oh, mate, it's incredible. I wouldn't be coaching where I am today if it wasn't for the opportunities that Sanzi and Co have given me. Really, you know, it's it's an incredible team, and one where I've been lucky to play with some of the best players in the world, and lucky enough to coach some of them as well. So, yeah, it's and obviously, when you're being coached by people like, Mike Friday, Colin Hillman, there's too many to mention, but it's sort of the way that you sort of form your own coaching philosophies. It's, coaching at the end of the day is a bit of plagiarism. You end up taking what you want from certain coaches and certain things that worked well in your experience, and hodgepodging it together in to form some sort of identity that you want to coach. And it's as I say, that's the samurai is just, yeah, taking me around the world there and back probably about 10 times, giving me some decent stash and some pretty incredible life experiences.
You've done a pretty decent job of hodgepodging it together. When you were playing, did you ever was coaching the future? Did you always know that was going to happen?
That's a good question. I don't think I did really. I sort of was playing probably from about 17, 18 years old with Samurai. And then, I just obviously had the Wales thing, in between, and trying to, get forward with a professional 15s career as well. And trying to match both of them up, which was a bit of a struggle, but it was a great experience. And for me, it was just something that I just thought never really seemed like work. It was just an incredible sort of hobby and a passion. And I thought that obviously doing the samurai things, it would, in my transition from a player, it would sort of help me in and not having that sort of camaraderie and not having that feeling. And all of a sudden, before too long, I was working with my old man in the accountancy firm and thinking, oh, this is painful. Um, and yeah, to be fair, I've absolutely loved coaching. The minute I held a whistle to my mouth, and obviously a chance of looking at the game, like we do there, and it's been fun, challenging. I've got a fair few grey hairs. This is a filter, by the way. My hair is completely the same color as the background. But it's yeah, as I say, it's given me so much, and I sort of the moment that that I was in tournaments and coaching, that's all I wanted to be, and it very quickly became the passion became a job.
Now, rugby's kind of standard where you're from background. I get it, but what was it that made that become the thing? You said it was your passion. Could you have looked in the crystal ball and seen playing at the level you played at, coaching at the level you coached at, or did you have another plan?
I actually want to be a footballer. My dad was a footballer. My brother was a footballer, so it was. I was just crap at it. I spent far too long kicking people in the air, and it was actually without name dropping too much. I went to school with a bloke called Ryan Jones. You may know he captained the Welsh team for a number of years, but I think I can remember about 14, 15, neither of us made the under 15s Wales football squad. And I can just remember us in Baseg school sort of seeing a poster of a rugby trial and not having a clue on any of the positions or anything of what was going on. I put myself down as number 8 because it wasn't a complex position. And then we put him down as outside half. So Ryan played fly half for school and I played number 8. And then I quickly realised that getting my feet stamped on was the bane of my existence. So I moved into the backs. And yeah, as I say, that was it then. Got the rugby bug and, sort of club rugby with like Risker. And I just, as soon as I played the game, it was a dream that to become a professional. And so I had that opportunity at a young age. And, it went from it was a big roller coaster ride at the time because the regional rugby was coming in, and obviously we went from I had a few years experience in the Premiership, like it was before regions, and that was incredible. But we went from 12 teams to 4 or 5 at the time, so there's a lot of Welsh people that missed out. So that's when I made my trek up north. And carried on the dream really up there. And as I say, it's the game gave me so much. I was just so passionate to try and achieve as much as I could in the game. And the people like I met along the way like Terry and Colin gave me my first opportunity with Wales Sevens, which I'll be forever grateful for because he was a hell of a bloke, hell of a coach. As I say, just sort of kick through with it with that. But yeah, it seems a bit like a blur when I look back and sort of see the things that we've done and achieved, which is pretty cool. But I don't spend too long in the past and keep looking forward at some exciting things coming up.
Yeah, you've got plenty of that. Go and talk me through. You said it. I didn't realize. I didn't realize that football was the first love. That's where I was, and I was hopeless. But I realized much earlier than you did that I was hopeless. What was the bug? What is the bug that you caught?
I think when you're playing like youth rugby, I think the off-field stuff of actually how you are in a team is just so unrelatable to football. It was nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was 15 having a drink in Risker Rugby Club. Well, my mum and dad are there, and I'm like, what is going on here? And going away on tour and just that the bond you get with those guys off the field, which just I'd never experienced before, in all honesty, and that's really what gave you the bug, because for love nor money they wouldn't have it in football. It's and as I say, I'd never experienced a full professional football outfit, but as I say, as soon as rugby gave me that bug, there was no looking back.
So club rugby, and where most start, it's maybe not quite with the pros now, but when you were coming through, as you said, the game didn't really know what it was. It didn't really have a direction. Everybody was making up professional rugby as they went along, and the 4 home unions all went a sort of different way. Were you aware of any of that, or were you just trying your best to be the best player you could be and let the politicians sort that stuff out?
Oh yeah, it was hard not to try and get involved, because I remember at the time David Moffat got involved in Welsh rugby, and all of a sudden he was pulling out the A team, and he pulled funding from the sevens, and that's actually the reason we we had to qualify for the World Cup. The World Cup that Wales won. People don't know this, but we actually had to qualify for that. So we had to go to I think it was Copenhagen. We even went to Georgia. We had to play a tournament in Georgia, and they were in the middle of a scuffle with Russia. So we were locked in a hotel. We were locked in a hotel with missiles flying in the distance, and we were just like, "Oh Jesus Christ, what have we got here?" And Andy Powell was with us, and yeah, literally the only man to leave the hotel, standard. But he was, it was at a time where we didn't know whether the Sevens program was coming or going. We ended up qualifying for that World Cup, and to this day, I really want to thank John Z for letting me do the qualifying tournaments and then dropping me for the World Cup, which the bastards went on to win. Which I'm clearly over it. But to be fair, we brought Tommy Isaacs in, and he was flying, and that World Cup team were just incredible. Just sort of watching it, half in tears, half in just awe that's sevens. It can all happen just so easy like that. You put a string of games together and it just clicks, and fair play to the guys, they got it right. But some fun times along the way.
Yeah, I mean, those are stories that very few people can tell. You then you get into it, and you're into rugby, and that becomes what you do. Did you still love it as much when there was the pressure of being involved in the professional game?
Yeah, I think you've got to love what you do. You've got to love what you do to be good at it, I think is the honest answer. I think that honestly, I've made like plenty of mistakes in the game, and plenty of mistakes in my coaching career and playing career. And if I could go back, you love to sort of have a word with yourself and give yourself some pretty strong words. But for me, it's like even the hardest of days, the hardest of pre-seasons, and I've had some absolute lunatics taking pre-season, from Sales S&C to Wales Sevens, and Colin Hillman's sessions where we weren't allowed to touch the ball until we were literally breathing out of our arse. So our sessions would be fully focused on what's the point in doing skills when you're fresh? You might as well do it when you're absolutely knackered. So there wasn't a ball included in our sevens training for about 30, 40 minutes. But, even those days you look back and you absolutely love, because, there was no other way to get through it. I think you'd be a very unhappy person if you didn't enjoy the hard times as well as the good ones.
Made the bonds between you and the teammates even stronger?
Oh, definitely. Adversity does that. Without breaking sweat. I think that whole mindset of putting you into dark places. This is what the game's about. Whether it's sevens or 15s, surviving and pushing through that and keep moving forward. And it does just bond teams together. So quickly and so effectively.
Who were the players that you were in that alongside, and you thought, he's got it, he's the real deal?
Oh, good question. I've played with people like Mark Bright. I'd say was an unbelievable sevens technique. He's still playing now.
Still is.
57. I think he's 57. Still probably topping the try charts in the championship somewhere. But there's incredible players like oh gosh, I'd have to credit people like Fraser as well, Crossy. These guys. I didn't really I didn't play with Crossy so much, but in terms of coaching him, was just they were incredible sevens players and could push themselves to those dark places, and that's what the game is about. When clutch moments in games, they come up with the goods, and they were incredible to coach and to play alongside. It was I was very lucky with that, playing with some great people. Even in the 15s environment, I was lucky enough to be involved with Sale and people like your Wigglesworth, Oriel Ripoll, who was a great sevens player as well. Yeah, there's plenty that I could probably chew your ear off for about an hour with that.
Yeah. So why sevens then? Because it's a stupid game.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Very good question. Absolutely crazy, and it used to be more crazy. Like people talk about how the game has come on physically, and they're bigger athletes that run faster and run harder. It was like, geez, yeah, but we only used to go to tournaments with 10 people, and you play 7 games in a day, and then the final will be 10 minutes each half.
Wait, 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 who made that rule? Why was the final longer?
It was mayhem. You'd have like a final where there'd be bodies just strewn all over the field, and Serevi carving through about 5 bodies lying on the floor, and there's two men left standing. But it was, yeah, normally one of those would be Richie Pugh or Gareth Williams, who's still chasing bastards all around the field. But it's yeah, it used to be absolutely the one of the most loneliest places times when you were in those sort of finals and playing 6-7 times in a day with almost 20-30 minute downtime, and then you'd be like, right, we've got to warm up again. And those warm-ups turned into just, do we have to? Do we just throw a pass around a little bit and be ready? But it was a different challenge, and I do see the game as massively come on, and it just sevens was just a way of challenging myself that I never really experienced in 15s, playing, back three and center. You can play 60-70 minutes and touch a ball twice, in more so in those days. But it was just something that I never knew a challenge like it. And as I say, when you want to gauge your character in times of hardship, then a game like that was just something that appealed to me for some mental reason.
Who gave you the shoulder tap for Samurai? Did you know about Samurai before you got invited?
Colin, I think was the one who put me into Samurai, and I played my first tournament, I believe, in Kumtawe, probably about 98 or 99, something along those lines. And yeah, it was just, from then it was, what, you're going to Rome? Oh, yeah, okay, I'll come. Yeah, it's brilliant. And going to Kenya, and it was just like, oh yeah, 100%. Did it matter that we don't get paid, or it was just along the lines of, yeah, I want to be involved in this? And even from those days 25 years ago, Samurai were always one step ahead of the curve with kit, care, physio, coaching. We didn't want for anything, and that was just that made it feel like a family, and for me, it just why I probably never played for anyone else.
Was there moments where you were almost pinching yourself? I can't believe I'm in Kenya playing sevens, or I can't believe I'm on the pitch alongside this guy.
Oh yeah, there's some surreal moments. Yeah, definitely. I think towards the end of my playing career, I think is, we had Middlesex sevens, and Sansi pulled out all the big guns there, and first time I played with Collins and Humphrey. Who else was it? There were, I think it was Zar Lawrence. There were so many. There was South African, Marius Schumann. We were like fully loaded, and I was going, what am I doing? So far out of my depth. But it was just, yeah, incredible to play with some of those players. You do pinch yourself, and you end up in Kenya going to an elephant sanctuary, and you're like, how did I get here? What was this about? And I think that, the one thing that Samurai always believed in was you put it out there, and you sort of emptied the tanks for Terry. That was the only thing we were in control of, is what we put out. And if you did put out for him and really empty the tanks, he'd reward you with tournaments and loyalty, which I wanted to give back to him in spades.
Yeah, you've definitely done that. So You then start this idea of maybe being a coach. You said you're a very honest guy. I've made lots of mistakes, but you've also done some bloody good things too. When you were starting to become a coach, you said about influences. Are you aware of you influencing other people now? Can you see that in yourself now?
Good question. No, I don't think I've ever. I don't think I've ever thought thought of myself like that. Really, it's yeah, it's something that yeah, I don't think I'm wired that way to think of my influence over other coaches up and coming. I still keep in touch with a lot of players that I've coached. I still, I still will stand by anything I've said sort of post tournament. And if you ever need a helping hand or a chat or something along those lines, then I'll be there for them. Just because that sort of environment that Samurai creates, you do feel like a family. You do feel like those bonds, get generated very quick, and you try and put yourself out there for the team, and the friends that you become very friendly very quick, and it's yeah, as I say, I wouldn't say really, much time has gone into thinking of myself like that. I look more to people that have influenced me, and doing my job, and trying to help players in the next generation come forward.
Because there's a massively high chance that players you've coached are going to be in the position or a similar position you're in now. They're going to become coaches and they're going to be saying, I've taken some of what he's got and I've put it into my hodgepodge. That's quite a powerful position to be in.
Yeah, I remember Sean Holly talking to me on a level 3 course once, and he said, and it always stuck with me. He said, coaching should be a fraternity. It should be an opportunity for you to pick up the phone, sort of chew the fat with someone, speak about tactics, speak about rugby. It's that mentality of you know, trying to keep everything secret, what you've got, no one else should know. And it's, that sort of environment, does nothing for me. I do really believe that, and that was, in all honesty, the most fun part about getting qualified in, and as a coach and doing my level 3 and level 4 with the WRU. For me, that the best bit about it was actually, having the other coaches there with me, talking through things, checking, challenging. They were the way they facilitated that, I thought was fantastic. And the best part about it, and you still have pick up these little conversation with coaches along the way. And as I say, any player that I've coached previously or is getting into coaching, and wants to chew the fat, there, I'm only a phone call away. I'm going to change my number after this, but yeah. Yeah, so it's all good.
The bit I love about coaching courses is not necessarily the coaching course; it's the coffee and the lunch and those in where you just get round a table and somebody opens a can of worms, and sometimes you're in it and sometimes you're just listening and observing. Now the sevens sort of show that you must spend a heap of time in the company of opposition coaches in the hotel over a coffee, over a beer. That must be an amazing learning opportunity.
Oh, it is, mate. It honestly is. It's that's the real, why I feel so lucky in part of the game, being around people who think differently, who've got sort of different opinions about certain ways the game's played, and that's the joy of sevens, is there is no one set way of playing. I think that you can see from the World Series, and even I did I did my presentation on my level 4 regarding the evolution of sevens and how the game has sort of evolved. And Christ, I can remember playing it where we were running backwards, throwing the ball 20, 30 meters back just to not take contact. And then sort of within years, you're flipping it to, all of a sudden, you're trying to smash it up the middle to stop Fiji from getting in your passing lines. And all of a sudden, teams are now, I remember Scotland doing it on the World Series. like leaving the rucks and all of a sudden coming round on the other side, but there's no offside lines. And even way before Italy did that to England in the Six Nations, for me the game evolves so quick. And as I say, the Sevens coaches I do believe are quite an innovative bunch. And it's great to pick their brains. It can, there are some people out there that like to keep their cards right by there. But it's always good trying to mess with their brains, and give them stuff that you're definitely not planning to do. I'll give you an example. We were in the hotel last week, and Meg Jones is hell of a character, but
She's class.
she just decided to put a load of fake information on the clipboard and just leave it there overnight. So when people come in the meetings and put GB moves down and where we were kicking off, and just absolute rubbish, basically. And this move, which switched about 5-6 different times and a little drawn out with names. And yeah, it's always good trying to mess with people. But as I say, it's in general, it's a pretty innovative, special place to be.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a couple of things there. First one, you must bump into a whole load of samurai mates, former teammates, people you've coached on the circuit, because there's so many of them. I love it when it's like Commie Games or Olympics, and Dino will put out that stat that says, here's the number of samurai coaches at this competition, here's the number of players, is there a special bond between those people?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, normally someone stands behind me when I'm talking to someone that's played for Samurai, just screams "Rugby friends, Samurai friends," which is ultimately annoying. But yeah, it's from all over the nations, really. That's been Sanzi's MO in Samurai of bringing nations together. We've coached and played in tournaments with 6-7 different nationalities, and obviously meeting those guys, it was great to catch up with Pablo, obviously, before he moved on with Spain. He was obviously, I'd coached him at Samurai, and to see what he'd done with that Spanish program and how he come on as a coach. It was, it does make you feel old, but on the other end, it is great to see him develop, and even Pac-Man now, the new sevens coach for Spain. He's a Samurai boy as well. Played out in Kenya for us. Was a fantastic 10 and a halfback. And as I say, it's I can go through the list probably like Dino. It's just insane when you're seeing people and everyone that's really been experienced the samurai opportunity of playing these tournaments around the world, and the experience of the samurai family. There's a huge amount of people there.
Yeah, class. I've spoken to a couple of coaches recently, and I wonder if you were this player when you were playing, would you have gone to the coach and said, "I've had an idea," or "What about this"?
Um, Probably not. Probably not with the at the start of my career. Definitely not. I was doing whatever Colin told me or Mike told me, or do you know what I mean? It was just very much. I think there's a difference in nationality. Do you know what I mean? Like I always found this a coaching, Welsh and English. The Welsh boys would be like, just tell us what to do. What are we doing? We're doing this, and an English mentality is, yeah, but why are we doing this? What's the reason? So there are, I suppose as a Welshman playing, I would yeah, probably seek that clarity of what I'm supposed to do, and just go out there and do it. I think towards the end of my career, I'd do it naturally with the amount of sort of experience I thought I gathered, and maybe challenged a little bit more towards the end of the career. But as I say, most of the time I'd like to do what I was told.
So now, as a coach, do you welcome that from players? Do you see some of the players you've got in your squad just now are pretty smart customers? Do you involve them in some of the planning and preparations?
Yeah, you've got to. That's where the game's evolved, really, in my eyes. The dictatorial way of coaching, I think, is massively dying out. And you've only got to look at some of the dictatorial characters and those sort of style of coaches that are losing their jobs currently because, for me, you've got to have that buy-in, you've got to have that player reaction and investment into what you're trying to do and challenge you as much as you challenge them. I think it's a healthy environment. As I say, it's something that I try and do with the GB women, and to be fair, I've got an absolute abundance of experience there. The likes of Amy Wilson Hardy, Abby Brown, Meg Jones, they're great tacticians of sevens, and they've got great rugby brains about it. So, when they come to, challenging me, they will do it at the drop of a hat, and I'll encourage that and keep doing it.
Sevens is that roadshow. You spend a heck of a lot of time with them. So, even if you just take an airport, you got to be there 2 or 3 hours before, and you got to hang around together, and then you're in the hotel and you've got all the formal stuff, but there's a whole load of downtime that you spend with each other as well. Are you able to switch off?
Yeah, I'd probably say the players more have that bit of downtime, because if we've done our jobs right, the preparation is done, previous to tournaments. If I'm scrabbling around trying to think of stuff that we haven't covered in the week of the tournament, I've got the prep wrong. So from my point of view, that as a player, I want them to feel relaxed in that week. I want them to feel like they've got clarity, they've done their homework. It's all set. But from my point of view, coaching, yeah, being on the series the last few years, there isn't that much downtime, and there isn't much switching off time. I sort of end up lying in bed, and even if it's the time difference or jet lag's kicking in, I end up thinking about opposition and watching opposition footage and trying to figure out ways that we can get one up on people. And I think I think more so for the players. I think you do need that ability to switch off and relax and think, to be fresh going into tournaments. But for me, even post tournaments, it's to the job, to one-on-one reviews, to preparation for the next one. They're coming so thick and fast. So, as I say, it is grueling in terms of that commitment. But it's not like bloody accountancy. So I'm laughing.
I'm going to read this to you. I saw this morning on social media. I'm going to read this to you and let me know what you think. Rugby is a creative game where players must express themselves. Rugby is not an Excel spreadsheet. Stop measuring and start feeling.
Yeah, it's hard to not disagree with that. It's I've got a great relationship with my S&C. I got to say, James Nolan. I've been lucky to work with some great S&Cs, Robin Sound Taylor, and James Nolan, who I'm working with currently. Who I experienced a bit of time with him before with Wales Women. He went on to Leicester Tigers and has come back to the GB program, and he is incredible at what he does. But he's very much focused on, not numbers, not stats, not PBs for this and that. It's very much his role is getting the players ready to the way that we want to play the game, and the collaboration between myself and Jim, I think works really well. As I say, you can be blinded by stats, and you can manipulate stats to however the you want the conversation to go down. They're moldable, they're so don't get me wrong, they can be used very effectively, especially for return to play, and obviously worrying about meterage and high speed meterage and how much they've done in the week in terms of load. But honestly, I would find it hard to disagree to that. It is very much a feeling game. Was that tweet by Finn Russell by any chance?
No, it wasn't, but it was somebody that used to work with him. See, this is where I reckon you know rugby, you've been in rugby, you've experienced it, but I reckon this is where being a sevens coach suits you down to the ground, because you've got all that rugby, but you've also got the personality to work with people, to spend time with people, to keep things fresh, emotionally intelligent. I reckon there's a huge amount in there that suits your skill set. These players, though, they're more than just players because you spend so much time with them. The bond that you make with a sevens squad, just for ease of numbers going against everyone I've just quoted there, in a 15 squad, you've got, 40, 50 players. It's difficult to build a really strong relationship with all 50 of them. You're traveling to the other side of the world with 12 or 13 in a really small team. The bond must be really strong.
Yeah, like as you say, you touched on it there. The benefit that we have is we do have a lot smaller squads. We do go to pretty incredible places around the world, and in pretty challenging environments. Which, as I say, adversity really strengthens those bonds. And we are playing a mental game. So throw all that into the mix, and you will get strong bonds. But I do believe I love coaching 15s. I've still got ambitions to experience full professional 15s coaching, and I don't think my philosophy in and around how I approach my social relationships with players. I don't think it'd change in a 15s environment either. I just think it's harder. You've just got to work harder. There's more players. You've got to spend a lot of time over it. To get the best of them. Because those relationships are huge, and the way things are going, and you have to get that investment. They have to feel like the players have to feel like you care enough to go that extra mile. And for me, it's easier in sevens. It is easier in sevens, but it's something that I think the world class 15s coaches surround themselves by people that will do the same. You only got to look at some of the relationships that I can sort of see firsthand in having been in the WRU, the relationships that people like Neil Jenkins had with players, and S&C's and Bobby and those guys in and around. They go the extra mile for him, and that's really, I think, where the game will keep getting stronger and stronger.
Sevens it's a mental game, both psychologically and crazy. So it tends to attract some characters. When you're picking a squad, there will often be a time where you're going with your gut. You just have a feeling, and it's probably that thing you can't really see. It's just you feel that person offers the most, or you think they've got it for this tournament. How do you go about explaining that to people? How do you go about saying you're selected because, or maybe you're not selected because?
Yeah, I think you just got to cut through the bullshit. I think that players do respect honesty. I think when you try waffle your way through a gut feeling explanation, or a situation, I think you've just got to be clear with your reasoning. For me, it is gut based, and you look at the time frames in terms of not just selecting a team, but while you're on there and making substitutions, and having to speak to players after it, or having to keep someone on, or even burning a substitute for getting them back on the field and losing the chance to put someone on for the first time. I think it can be brutal, but you've just got to really, in my eyes, be honest and open and say, look, this is what I get paid for, to make those decisions. If I'm wrong, I'm the first person, and I will be the first person to come in to you and say, yeah, I fucked that up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I made that mistake. And that's on me, and I'll get better for it. And I think that once you show that sort of honest side, the minute you start waffling, you'll lose them. And there's not much coming back to that, because that'll lead to a distrust in what you're trying to do and achieve.
Amen. Love that. Is it different coaching women?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. It is it is. I sort of had I had different experiences. If I'm honest, I was experienced the first time I experienced women coaching was obviously in Wales and leading the Wales Sevens program. Then probably 2016, 17, and then what you got to bear in mind is that program was completely amateur. We were desperately figuring out ways of more contact with the players, more contact time with the players. There was so much wrong with the program from a support point of view, and battles that we were facing just to compete. And for me, that really gave me a feeling of insecurity about going back into the women's coaching. But I think, and being really honest, it is one of the best decisions I ever made. I think, for me, having players that have experienced professionalism, the type of athletes that I've got, yeah, there are differences in and the way the you speak about things. You have to, you can't be as blunt. There's a bit more sort of questioning of the whys. There's a bit more time you have to explain of why you're doing certain things. But in general, the women players, they want to be treated like professionals. They want that honesty, which is no different to the men. As I say, they're things that I would say from the first time I experienced women's coaching, it was much down the line of when we saw emotion, or we saw, that was, well, this can't happen. Come on, we're professional rugby players, and I was very much down the line of, yeah, come on, this is, shake it off. It's fine. We're not dealing with this. And probably the way I've evolved is really trying to embrace the differences, I suppose, is what we're trying to do in GB is, yeah, it is different coaching men and women. We'll embrace the emotion. Nothing is wrong here in this program in terms of that. And if we're in that sort of open and honest space, then we can have these discussions, and we can, we wouldn't shy away from having awkward conversations about periods or white shorts, or just emotion and stuff, that we're actually trying to push the boundaries on that, and really become tighter off the field because of it. And I think really it's something that the program's doing well, and the girls are keeping the staff honest with it, and vice versa, hopefully.
To me, the female players are still accessible because they've not become superstars yet. They're still accessible. They still engage. You see a lot of female players at their clubs, and after games, they're able to take selfies and sign pictures, and there's phenomenal role models. But you've got some of the, certainly in GB, you've got some of the biggest personalities and biggest players from the nations. How have you found putting them together?
Yeah, it's good. I honestly, I've found that personalities are so important in this game. I think, you do end up having to go to so many dark places, that personalities that light up a room always help in those circumstances. I think that you're right. I think the women's game, some of the players that you're talking about, your Jazz Joyces, your Meg Jones, these players are super approachable. A lot of their whys are regarding legacy, and lighting the way for the next generation, and making it very clear that this can be an avenue of any young girl in Britain, if they want this. And that they do it in a way that is brilliant. They're very visible on social media. They're very engaging off the field. We look to try and do those, the school visits wherever we are, and sort of developing that. And I think that and I've got to credit the players there. They are brilliant at it, and some of the content that's coming out from the GB site is excellent and really engaging to a lot of people. So, as I say, yeah, the big personalities are always good. I've never worried about managing big personalities, because there's been so many in the game. That's I don't think I've ever played in a team without big personalities, and it's part and parcel of rugby and how we go about it. I think that to play such a physically demanding mental sport as in sevens, if you are dull as dishwater, it's going to be a hard bit of graft. But if you're out there and really expressing yourself and your personality, I think it's a game you can just keep excelling in.
We when I was down at the Sevens Commonwealth Games Sevens with my daughters, we went and had a chat to Meg and Celia, and they were just gold, absolutely gold. And Meg Jones gave, obviously Scottish family, gave my youngest Katie a Team England bag that she now uses with huge pride that she got from Meg Jones. Now, talking of big personalities, I've known Rona Lloyd since she was about 11 years old. Big personality. Are you ready to ram that ukulele where the sun doesn't shine yet, or is it still a novelty?
Not at all. Do you want to know the reason why? Because I've just found out she's got a Welsh father.
She
So,
does indeed. Big
so
Bobby Lloyd, he's some
I mean,
man.
do you know what I mean? I knew I liked him for a reason. And that ukulele playing has got so much easier now. I know she's half Welsh. No, she's brilliant in the group. We missed her when she came from the World Cup and obviously took a thumb injury and needed an op. So in terms of her start to her GB career, it was a challenge. But one, she's absolutely smashed. She's bought into all the off-field stuff, the S&C. She's worked really hard. She deserved her crack last week, and really to have weapons like I've got out wide in Jazz, Rona, Gracie. They're real wheels, and as I say, it's going to be a good old challenge for those players to get selected. But as I say, Rona's got a great mindset around it, as all three of them have, and it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to watch. Now we're getting closer and closer to the Olympics. That must be just so exciting.
Yeah, it's just trying to keep my pants on, really. Just in terms of just not get too excited and start waving them around my head. It's look, we've got to take each step, take each tournament. We're in a position that we wanted that top four, but we were also realistic to know, fitting in, a new side. I say a new side. A large proportion of them were the English side from last year, but we had new frameworks, a completely different defence, and really I've had such fantastic buy-in from the group there that it's really given me a lot of confidence going forward to push for that Olympic qualification. It's great knowing it's there, knowing that that tournament is around the corner, and I think it will drive the players to some pretty special places on the field. But for me, it's I just want to keep pushing forward every tournament and doing something better, because the Olympics isn't going to be won next week. We have to take that mentality of, right, Hong Kong's next, or we've actually got a camp in Scotland, then Hong Kong's next. Then very quickly after that is Toulouse, and then all of a sudden you're into Rugby Europe, you're two Rugby Europes and your Olympic qualifier. And come the end of June, July, we'll know if we need another opportunity to get into the Olympics or we're qualified. And I think you've got to keep focused on actually what you can control and not look too far ahead in that. Even though that that's pretty much my job to sort of get the team humming and buzzing by the time that that Olympics comes about. But for us, it's that next, as cheesy and cliche as it is, that next tournament, next game mentality. We got New Zealand, Canada, and Hong Kong, and I'm not looking past that. And yeah, that's currently where we are.
Yeah, well, go for it. Get it done sooner rather than later, please. How do you
Yes.
deal when one of your players has to go through what Abby Burton's gone through?
It's incredible. I can remember sitting down with Kieran Beattie and Charlie Hayter, and really just being talked to by the doctor of what she went through, and me and Kieran just sat there with our mouths open, and just being in awe of the journey that player has undertaken. I think it's mind blowing, and as much as I've got the world of respect and find it really inspiring, I think what I owe to Abby is to make sure that she is ready to go. And that's all sort of I'm focused on at the minute with Abby is she needs to earn the right, and me not to think about anything else than her current form, her current physical condition, where she is on that. And when she is selected, then she's earned that, and she's deserved it. She is very single-minded. She's very dedicated, very committed to her craft. She's, as I say, what she's been through has given her some mental strength, which amazes me. But at the end of the day, it's I've got her in next camp now, and she's full go with full combat sessions. She's fully live. She's got the green light, so she's taking the reins of the shackles off and going for it and trying to push for selection. And I'm just trying to look at it respectively, like I just want her to be earning that shot and ready to go. And I think she can achieve incredible things, but she's had a hell of a battle. It's mind
Yeah,
blowing.
gee, she has. And your skipper, or one of your skippers, just reached a decent milestone last week indoors in Canada. She's a class act, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's. It was one of those things where I came into the program, and Rodders and Scotty Forrest had said they went down the whole co-captains route, and for me, I was like, well, just we got a captain, it's fine. I'll choose a captain. And then the minute you had one-to-ones with them, and they were like yin and yang. They do. Meg takes way more of a sort of a hard-nosed approach to leadership, and Abby is definitely a little bit more easy on the ear in terms of her leadership style. And it just works. They both work fantastically together. As I say, they bounce off each other. They both challenge me. As I say, it's great to have both of them as leaders in the group, and they've slotted into it effortlessly. And yeah, it was an easy choice.
The Aussies and the Kiwis are just flying at the moment. It just seems like those programs are getting better in the 15s game. Obviously, the English women and the Kiwi women are pretty far ahead. Do you think about that at all, or are you just looking after what you've got?
No, I think that it's wrong of me not to think about it. I want to be. I want the players to be challenging. Currently they're the clearing apart the two best sides in the series at the minute. There's a lot of players that have been together for a long time in those programs, and have experienced some pretty incredible things together. But for me, it's I want to take shots at them. We started this series and had sort of 2 1-score games in with New Zealand, and really sort of really sort of took it to them. I think we struggled to get a read on them in the last tournament. They were playing some outstanding sevens and thoroughly deserved their crown. I thought some of the sevens they played was excellent. But it's look, you want to aspire to a team like them, but as I say, we're going to do it our way. We've got different ways of doing things. We've got some different players, and for me, it's going to be taking chips away at them, and leading into that tournament when we actually need to, and hopefully it being the Olympics, we can take scalps, and to be the best team in the world, that's what we're going to have to do.
Nice. I've taken up a lot of your time, so we're getting there. I'm intrigued though. If you could only go back to one tournament, or if you could take your squad to one tournament, where would it be?
Oh, uh, I loved Mar del Plata. We had a tournament in Argentina. That was a pretty special one. Yeah, I'd definitely say that's up there. You know, in fairness, Kenya's a brilliant place to go in terms of life experience, in terms of the players playing in such a difficult environment. You know, the heat, the food, the training pitches, to go out there and perform is a real challenge. And then you've got the bonus that Kenyans are fantastic people. They've got a great culture out there. You've got life experiences like the safari on your doorstep, and that'd be pretty special to take a team. But as I say, there's a fair few I think I could choose from.
When you take them to Hong Kong, are you able to show them a few dark corners?
Oh, 100% not. No, not the places that Terry holds his management meetings. We're definitely not going to that place. Yeah, Lang Kwai Fong and Wang Chai are definitely banned. Unfortunately, Samurai management might be there, but Great Britain management will not be.
Okay, yeah, I'll believe that. I'll believe that. I'll keep an eye on social media. Right, I didn't prompt you for this bit, but at the end of this, I ask people to finish a sentence. So for you, happiness is
Sevens.
It's easy as you like.
Shit, I was going to say my kids, and then I'd probably get absolutely battered for that. But or my wife, or my new wife. Oh yeah, her as well.
No, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
taking
going to
that.
need the editing tool for that for me.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. And like you said before, we could probably go on for hours. So when you qualify for the Olympics, you can come back and we'll do a preview.
Sounds perfect, mate. Happy days.
You're an absolute star. Thank you, sir.
Good man. Top man.
Absolutely loved that. And there's a lot in there, and there's a lot more. And I know that his players will absolutely love working for him. You've heard the kind of guy he is, and I think that desire to go and achieve now, but there's probably some more in the tank for some 15s too. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can go and have a look at our back catalogue on Apple, Acast and Spotify. Please subscribe, download, give it a review if you've enjoyed, and look out for more episodes coming up. My name is Bruce Aitchison from the Happiness Is podcast, and my happiness is egg-shaped. Look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Thank you.